Today, while the working class of this country is struggling with higher gas prices, higher food prices, and higher housing prices, the billionaire class and large corporations are doing phenomenally well and, in fact, have never, ever had it so good. In the United States today, while the average worker is making $44 a week less in inflation accounted for dollars than he or she made nearly 50 years ago, corporate profits are at an all-time high, and CEOs have seen huge increases in their compensation packages.
So that is Senator Bernie Sanders talking about how great the rich have had it over the past few years, and in comparison to workers, they're doing really good. We're going to give you some numbers. The wage gap between chief executives and workers at some of the US companies with the lowest paid staff grew even wider over the last year. CEOs made on average $10.6 million. The median worker received $23,968. And that isn't just bad, it is actually getting worse, even just in recent history. There was a study of 300 top US companies released by the Institute for Policy Studies, I believe this was just a couple of days ago. It found that the gap between CEO and median worker pay jumped to 670 to 1, which means that the average CEO receives $670 in compensation for every individual dollar that one of their workers gets. That ratio is up from just 604 to 1 2 years ago. 49 firms had ratios above 1,000 to 1. So look, Jordan, we mention the gap there, and we have for years as we've been talking about these things. It just keeps getting worse. It was terrible 5 years ago, it was terrible 10 years ago. That 1,000, which is considered sort of an outlier, in like 4 years, that'll be the norm, I guess, at the rate that we're going. What do you think?
It's just another instance of, Congress and the government not doing anything to fix a systemic issue. And it's another issue where we are mostly an outlier among the rest of the world in developing countries or developed countries. It's egregious, and you have people struggling to make ends meet. I'm sure you saw most of the families who received the extended child tax credit last year, which has since expired, are now struggling to pay for groceries. In 10 states, gas is well over $5 a gallon, and CEOs are doing just fine. Their average compensation spiked this year, last year, and worker pay has remained relatively stagnant, or has been, even if they got a modest increase, it has been completely wiped out because of inflation. So people are really struggling right now, but executives, CEOs, investors, the capitalist class, they're all doing fine. And until Congress does anything about this, it's just going to continue to get worse and worse. They have no incentive to stop. They're motivated by greed. Like, this isn't going to magically disappear. We have to make change to stop this. But because people in Congress also really want to get rich, they're not going to do it. So it's really, really depressing to see this. And I'm thankful to Bernie, as always, that he's talking about this because he's one of the few.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, these companies can raise their CEO pay. That demonstrates, if the CEO is being paid more, then clearly the CEO did a great job. Not just a great job, but a job that is tens of thousands of times better than your average worker is. And yet those corporations couldn't help but raise the price on their products, even knowing that will probably hurt their sales. They had to do it. They were so desperate. They just didn't have the money for innovation or research or to subsidize the price as it was. And their workers lost ground against inflation in studies. So they obviously couldn't afford to pay their workers. So then how good of a job did their CEOs do? If they're doing such a terrible job that they can't keep pace with inflation, either with the keeping the price down or giving the workers the pay they need, then how are they affording to give these massive raises to the CEOs? So of course, we understand the answer to all these questions, but it is incredibly frustrating to have so few in a position of power and authority in elected office that will actually challenge this. So we'll even point out that this is happening. Because the vast majority of the people in the Senate have no problem with this whatsoever. They look forward to someday leaving office and being the CEO of a corporation and benefiting in the way that these people are. By the way, super fast, let's jump to our last two graphics just to point this out. Elon Musk is gonna be collecting, was it $23 billion? That's he's making off of Tesla. They beat their targets. Now, Tesla's doing a little bit bad now, but it had been supposedly doing so well. And he was talking about cutting 10% of the salaried staff. Again, like they can do, he's made hundreds of billions of dollars off of Tesla, but 1 in 10 employees might have to lose their jobs. Those are the priorities of these people. But keep on thinking that these billionaires, these celebrity billionaires are your saviors. Elon Musk, sure, he's gonna fire 1 out of 10 employees, but he posted a meme once, and so he's just like us. Keep thinking that. Keep thinking that as you race towards your economic grave. Any other thoughts, Jordan?
The people who really get riled up and defend him are just like the biggest losers on the internet. It just 100%. Makes no sense. The guy has total contempt for everyone. He just doesn't care. He doesn't give about any of them. And
100%.
They still defend him. It's weird. It's very, very weird.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.